Doctor, I'd like to kiss you goodbye.
All right, but you're so damned ugly.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Harbor. I'm your host, the Kino Kowboy, with my boys here, Scott and Casher, just as usual. And today we're talking about one of my all-time favorite science fiction films, Planet of the Apes from 1968, starring Charlton Heston. He's a pretty awesome role in this movie, I think. This is one of those like pre-Star Wars sci-fi movies that really made an impression on popular culture, especially in America. And I think I saw it on TV. My mom showed it to me when it was on TV as a kid, and I thought it was cool. But it was like I finally sat down and rewatched it when I was 19, and that's when it really hit. And I was like, oh wait, no, this isn't just some like B movie I remember from my childhood. This is actually like a thought-provoking, really strong sci-fi masterpiece. And so ever since then, I've been a huge fan. And then a few years ago, I finally watched the original sequels, which we'll talk about in a later video. But yeah, huge fan. Did you guys watch this growing up or no?
Yes,
yeah, it was always the TV version. This one's kind of not a great movie to watch as a kid if it's not the TV version. There's just a lot of really heavy themes in it that I probably wouldn't understand, but I barely even remember the TV version itself.
I can't see it being that much different.
Probably not, but there's probably also
I guess
a lot of
there's a
shit
lot
I
of-
didn't understand.
There's a lot of male nudity in this movie, even though it's rated G. So
Oh yeah, I forget this movie's rated G.
It's kind of
yeah,
wild.
because back then it was just like, okay, if it's suitable for a regular audience, it can be rated G.
Yeah, I think general audiences, it wasn't really thinking about children as much. I think it was
No,
literally
yeah.
audiences. Now G is only for trolls, I think.
No, I think even that Trolls movie is PG.
I think it is actually.
Probably.
Yeah,
I can't remember. The last G-rated movie I saw was probably that shitty Toy Story 4.
Right. Anyway, this movie rules. This is one of my favorite movies. Definitely favorite. I mean, maybe a top 5, certainly top 10 sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
I did watch it growing up, TV versions and the sequels growing up. And really have nothing but good things to say about this movie. I'm excited for this cast.
Yeah. I want to talk about the pre-production before we get into the movie. Let's see. First of all, it was based off of a book,
French
but
novel.
yeah, this is very much the novel through an American lens, we'll say, because the original novel was more contemporary with its setting, like more like an alt 60s kind of world with apes instead of the more interesting version we got, I think, with its weird limited setting and technology, which they did for budget reasons. But I think that works interestingly enough. But the producer, Arthur P. Jacobs, he was the one championing this film to get made, and he was taking it to 20th Century Fox because back then that was like they'll make all the cool movies that no one else has the balls to make, but they weren't willing to put up the $10 million for it. And because at that point it was still that contemporary version with like way bigger sets and crazier settings. But so yeah, Jacobs collaborated with Rod Serling, who is known for the Twilight Zone, not Twilight.
Twilight.
And so he was the first writer of the film, and he's the one who really put the original story together. And obviously, he's always a fan of allegorical sci-fi tales, and he was big into, you know, uh, anti-segregation stuff like that, and so he was big into the movie. But when they couldn't get the proper budget, he kind of distanced himself from the project because he didn't know what was going on with it. And then they brought in Michael Wilson, who is the second screenplay writer. He wrote it into what we see the film as today. He changed the overall aesthetic of the film and made it easier to shoot within their $5 million budget instead of $10 million budget, which is interesting because it does feel a little small with its City of Apes, but it's 1968. You work with what you got. But the thing is that he had to work under the table for a while because he was one of those who was blacklisted by McCarthy goons in the 50s for, he didn't say he was a communist. He just refused his right to answer when they were questioning. And so he was blacklisted. So he wrote a lot of scripts under the table at the time. Most famously, Bridge Over the River Kwai, which he wrote and then at first uncredited for. And when he took his family to see it in the theaters, it was, his name didn't appear in the credits, and his daughter said he like cried in the theater and shit, which sucks.
Shouldn't be a communist.
Yeah, I think that's the answer. Is go along with whatever the government goes with.
Well, the man is like, his experience with McCarthyism and being treated like subhuman and shit like that really inspired his take. Also, race riots going on, segregation and stuff, and he took all of that and really pushed it into a script and made it his own. So it's really Michael Wilson who brought it all together, really. And so they finally got made. Charlton Heston was on board for the project the whole time. He thought it was cool. They even had to like do a test to make sure before they even greenlit it, to make sure the ape makeup would actually be believable and not stupid. And thankfully they pulled it off. And so that's really how it came together at first.
Yeah, I could say that, like, I may have only seen this movie a few times, but from my childhood, the prosthetics in this movie have consistently been on my mind since I first watched it.
And that's really, that really makes the movie work, is that even 50 years later, it still looks cool to me.
No, this movie is incredibly socially relevant still, I think, because we're living in a state where evangelicals have a lot of political power. And this movie is, there's the Scopes monkey trial. This is kind of has evolutionary themes and anti-evolutionary themes in it. Very boldly critical of religion for a movie of this time, and for a movie of this time to be so mainstream. I guess as long as it's not Christianity, it's fine, although it's clearly based off Christianity.
And that's the weird part, is that my mom loves this movie and showed it to me, and I guess all the themes go over her head.
It's ridiculous how it's so hammered in.
Because my mom's a MAGA Christian, for anyone listening, and is actively anti-science and critical of vaccines and stuff like that.
Is the word.
No, you mean she's a patriot?
Oh yeah, she's a true American patriot. And so it's just weird that all these themes go over her head. For me, it was like rewatching this at 19 after I had recently deconstructed my faith. It really hit hard, so I was real into it, I remember. So yeah, and also for 1968, we hadn't done 2001: A Space Odyssey yet, So
no, they came out the same year. It's interesting. I was watching this. I'd forgotten that temporarily. I knew that, and that this is all a year before we landed on the moon. But when they're crashing the desert and it's so chaotic, I thought, oh, this really reminds me a lot of 2001. But it's just coincidence, and they both have the way of depicting the desert in a sort of montage fashion.
Right.
Which is also, that's what space travel is. You go to the moon. There's not a lot up there. So we get to have that for the plot.
And I will say, I love, and I find it very fascinating how a lot of sci-fi movies can succeed in making obvious American landscapes look alien and foreign. They just make it work, It's cool.
Like
Yeah,
this
where was that
Logan
shot?
Road.
California or something?
Yeah.
It looks like, sort of like Utah-ish area or
Yeah,
something out in
Southwest.
the desert or something. I don't know. And then also, kind of probably ahead of its time is having a protagonist be so hard and cynical.
It's seriously, I think, the most nihilistic protagonist I've ever seen in a mainstream film. He's so anti-human, almost as much as the apes.
Yeah.
Is looking for something better because he's completely lost faith in humanity. It's an incredibly bold, and 5 times NRA president Charlton Heston. That's my background. Really, he brings the anger to the role. It's weird. I feel like Charlton, I bet he was an interesting dude, because I was saying earlier, he championed for civil rights, but also was a huge NRA guy, obviously 5-time president, until he resigned because of Alzheimer's. So I'm sure he was an interesting guy to have at parties. I don't know. He was also Moses. So weird, but he's also this character.
Yeah.
It's
cool.
Such an interesting choice.
And it's like his character Taylor was very willing to leave humanity behind for what was originally going to be like 700 years and turned out to be 2000.
Well, let's talk about the trip that they're on. So they're on basically an exploration mission. Is it by NASA? They have American flags everywhere.
No, it's there's like world building lore. I forgot what the
ANSA. It's like there's a different sort of
that's it. Yeah.
I will say this made me want to deep dive into the lore of Planet of the Apes after watching this.
I know there's comics and stuff. There's more lore, and it comes out in the sequels as well. I don't know how many of this
seems lore heavy.
Watch the sequels. I've
never seen any of the sequels. So.
Yeah.
They build it out a lot.
It's crazy, but
we won't get into that.
That'll be a later thing. But yeah, it's like I wonder what his life was like on Earth for him to reject humanity and just completely don't care. Because to him, it like really seems it doesn't matter if it's 700 years or 2000. He's kind of just like, well,
does it matter?
Yeah.
No, he has such a gallows humor sense about it. It's hard to, I don't know. The whole trip is almost weird, though, the logic of it, even though I like it. Because what scientific advancements are they going to make in 700 years that'll still matter? If 700 years pass, and science marches on. And 2, they said, what's her name? Stewart was to be a new Eve with our hot and eager participation, of course. So they were all going to bang this one chick and have her spit out babies one at a time, which is a slow process. The ratio is off. And then are they just going to have a bunch of incest babies for all of eternity on this colony? Like, the plan doesn't make a lot of sense.
Sounds like
but I like that about the movie. And was Stewart aware of this, or was she told it was like a botany mission?
Dude, all that does is remind me of that shitty Jennifer Lawrence, Chris Pratt movie that came out where like they're trapped on a ship and he releases her because he's lonely because he accidentally got released. And like just like using these fucking women because it's like one woman on that ship too to populate the whole world. It's fucking weird.
Ridiculous. Charlton Heston falls in love with the first cave woman he sees too.
I don't blame him, dude.
Yeah, she's pretty hot. We'll get there.
But I don't know how much of him saying that at the end about Stewart is true or not. So
or if he was just, we're all planning on doing this, it's not actually part of the mission.
I don't know.
We talked about this before we got put into this time dilation.
Yeah. He leaves a message for the future. He's like, does man still make war against his brother, keep his neighbor's children starving? That's in the first 2 minutes of the movie. It says that.
It's a solid Heston impression.
Thank you.
Yeah. Obviously not subtle. Doesn't need to be, though, especially not for the time.
No, people kind of needed to be hit in the head with it. And I think we're in 68. Are we still screwing around Vietnam?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's still the height of that. There's anti-government sentiment,
Yes.
which is a bit of, you get a bit of that in what's his name, Lucius, the nephew or whatever at the end.
Yeah.
You get some like Berkeley student vibes from.
Well, this is also
Yeah.
what the year before the moon landing.
Yeah. So
Okay.
space race, obviously.
But yeah, so they crash onto this planet, and I showed this to my whole family last year while on vacation, and none of them knew what was coming. So that was a delight.
That's
And
fun.
It is interesting on a rewatch because I've been watching these movies as long as I remember. So I don't know if I think I always knew it was Earth or something. Like I don't remember ever being hit with the plot twist. What about you, Casher? Do you remember?
It blew my mind as a kid. I
Oh
was like,
yeah.
what? This isn't an alien planet? Yeah.
Well, it's funny on a rewatch. They hammer. I mean, they really hint toward it the whole time, which is what makes it work. You know, you obviously know the time is off. And I was thinking at one point he says there's no moon, which I don't know why.
It's a space station.
Okay.
I don't know
But
about
he says
that.
there's no moon. Maybe that's just because in the year, what is it, 3978, it's just gone so far out of orbit you can't see it, or they can't calculate it.
Like I said, dude, this seems so lore heavy. Like we get so much in this film, but there's like so fucking much I want to explore in this.
There's like, and the way the atmosphere is like a little bit different because those lightning storms that come up and in like broad daylight, and it's just for like 2 seconds, but it's an interesting change.
Like I'm
But-
curious to know what like what the terrain is like on Earth now that it's been kind of taken over. And
I was thinking toward the end, spoilers, Earth all along, but they have them follow the river, which eventually takes them out into the sea. So I wonder, was that the Hudson or something if they're going toward New York?
Yeah.
Because has it just over the years just cut into the earth until it's a ravine or one of the tributaries of the Hudson or something? I don't really know.
Yeah, maybe.
That's just thinking. I mean, because the terrain would be unrecognizable after 2,000 years, and
Yeah.
where all the stars and positions are, I'm sure would be, unless you were gonna like check a star map of those in the future, to see what it was. But the constellations wouldn't be the same or anything. That's another reason.
do you think that all simian tribes or like cities are very anti non-simian?
I think it's likely because there was such a psychic, and it's explained a little why they're anti-human in the sequels, Casher. But
I need to watch the sequels. I need the
Yeah,
lore. I'm
it's-
sorry,
it's-
guys.
You will be
I'm so
shocked
ill
by how
prepared
much-
to the lore, and I'm like, I'm a
you'd
lore
be-
slut. So
You'll be shocked
No, but
how
this is good.
crazy
This
it
is
gets.
good. Like if you've only seen the first one, this is a good thing to mention. Of one of the things about the sequels, which we won't go into them, they're all very different. They each
Cool.
have a distinct tone,
That's
yet
the best part.
it all ties together. Yeah, they're all different movies, really, especially
Yeah.
after this.
Yeah. The sequel, Beneath the Planet of the Apes, is probably technically the weakest one, but it's the most insane apeshit one, if you will. Pardon the.
so just to be clear, we want to discuss more on the sequel. I am going to ask a lot of lore questions because again, I've
No,
only
do
seen-
it. But I think that's interesting because it shows how much world building is done
No.
and hinted at in this first one. And
And,
I don't
like-
know how much they had planned before this.
Like,
They
I get into a lot of lore stuff like this. I will deep dive this most likely within the week.
No, you can even read the Planet of the Apes Kong crossover comic. Stuff
That'd be
like
cool. I'm just curious to know if like the simian, all the simians are as prejudiced, or if like maybe this
I
is like a
I don't know
maybe a
how-
radical version of a
Right, because I don't
tribe.
know how and clearly this is, I imagine this is like a suburb or something to an ape city, like a little
Yeah.
research compound, not the city itself. And
We have to
Dr.
suspend your
Zayas-
disbelief because of
Yeah,
the budget constraints.
Right. That's another thing. You just have to deal with it. But
That's why I'm hoping
know-
in Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which comes out next year, I'm hoping they kind of give us.
I just rewatched those. I'm so fucking pumped for Kingdom. It's
So
not
you've
even
seen
funny.
the reboot trilogy?
Yeah, I've seen the reboot trilogy, and I've seen the 2002
Okay,
Tim Burton.
2001. Yeah,
I haven't seen
Yeah,
the Tim Burton one.
Tim Burton one I watched out of morbid curiosity. That movie
I
sucks.
saw that in theaters as a child.
Also, the main guy can just talk like right off the bat to the
Yeah.
apes. And it's like, what the fuck are you doing?
I will say this, dude. The fucking like designs of the apes and that were fucking awesome.
Yeah, the actual
They look really good.
prosthetics
Like,
and
what is
special
it?
effects were good, but that's
Michael
literally
Clark
it.
Duncan as like the main gorilla leader who's like, get your hands off me, you damn, like after the damn dirty ape thing, he says the damn dirty
Very
human.
dirty human. Oh, it's
Fucking
different.
sick. I was
Yeah,
like,
it's
oh, this is
stupid.
so cool.
Dumb fucking movie.
I haven't seen it since I was probably 10 years old, but
Oh,
I've
yeah.
never seen the whole thing. I've seen parts on TV, and I'm like, screw
Hold
this.
up, my
I'm not watching
friend.
this.
it used to be cool as fuck though.
Ah, I prefer this.
Oh, I do too. No, I
Most
want to
people
rewatch.
would.
I want to rewatch the Tim Burton one because there were certain scenes in it that used to terrify me as a child.
Wasn't
Yeah.
there like a Helena Bonham Carter was like romantic with Mark Wahlberg?
Yeah.
Stupid.
Now,
In
I
this one,
like-
she's like, "You're so ugly" the whole time. They're roasting him.
yeah. I like how Taylor is so cynical. First of all, he's just immediately like, "Yep, no, we're dude. Everything you know is dust, dog.
We're boned."
2,000 years in." And he laughs at what's his name? One of them. I think it was Landon. But Landon. I think it's Landon, but he's taking the time to like plant a little American flag, and it probably meant just a small something to the guy in this insane scenario that he has to now cope with, and the devastating reality that like everything is far gone and they're like lost in space basically. And Taylor just finds it really funny and shits on him for it. And his cynicism quickly becomes mean-spirited with these two other guys. And
Oh, he's egging Landon on, and Dodge has to be laid off him.
yeah.
Just has to tell him to shut up.
But it's interesting, by the end of the film, he's kind of wanting to go back to that spot to show them the American flag, which he's now a little more proud of and kind of,
But I think it's
for.
spite. It's still spite with him.
Yeah.
And it's not even because he loves human civilization. He just found something even more barbaric and was treated like that. And out of spite, he's like, "You treated me like an animal. I want to show you that I'm better than you."
Yeah.
I still don't think it's out of love for his fellow man.
I know. It's interesting.
Is he is he the continued protagonist in like the sequels?
Can't say.
Yeah, you have to watch.
No, that's fine. I was just curious because it seems like I could probably do one movie with him as the protagonist, and then another movie I'll be like, can we get someone who actually like fucking wants to live?
You have to. It's the change of protagonists are very interesting. I will say that because each movie is different, but it still continues the same story in a way. It's hard to explain, but Taylor, he straight up says he despises people. And then he says what's interesting to me, he says that he thinks that there has to be something out there better than man, which of course speaks to humanity and its hubris of its own kind, which of course in turn leads to the fucked up future he's in. So yeah, I can't help but be like, yeah, that's fair.
more questions here. Again, I feel like I don't know so much, but
no, we're only talking about within this movie.
I'm saying like we don't ever get to figure out like in this movie, it's not explicitly stated what's happened in the past, right?
Oh yeah, I guess not. No,
he said you blew it up.
So
yeah, there was going to be more hints in the original screenplay of a possible like nuclear war, destruction, or something. They were going to come across like, I forgot what it was. It was like a sign that said something about like a shelter or something. And the producer, who was really pushing for this movie the whole time, was like, no, we have to save everything for that final scene, and that's what's going to make it explode basically and work.
Right.
And he was right.
It was so right. That's
But there's
one of
still
famous endings.
But there's still that slow creep up and the reveal of the doll being able to talk hits really hard when you rewatch it. So
I do wonder with the reboots that they're doing with like Dawn, Rise, Kingdom, all that stuff that's coming out, if it's going to actually end up being a nuclear war towards the end that really decimates the population and allows
I
for
don't know. I think that's a different timeline.
Yeah.
it might be.
Yeah.
You just gotta watch
Uh,
Beneath the Planet of the Apes.
Right.
and-
Is Kingdom gonna be, because I only saw Rise of Planet of the Apes for the reboots. I didn't
Kingdom's
see
post Caesar.
it's okay. So Kingdom is a sequel to those others. Then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Distance. Like it's
Yeah.
it's
A
like,
time skip.
I think it's several hundred years after.
Okay.
Kingdom's gonna be with Caesar's son.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I read that. Like I said, I just rewatched these.
Oh, okay, cool.
Recently, and Cornelius is introduced and everything, and
Oh
James
shit.
Franco's gonna be in it.
No.
No.
yeah, it's Cornelius is the son of Caesar, and that's who it's about. So it's
Wow.
like it's where we're at because Cornelius is in this. Yeah.
Yeah, but like
he's
this
not,
is
he's
like
not the son of Caesar.
it's
But
not
I'm
the
wondering-
same.
Yeah, I'm just
timeline.
wondering if it's like the same bloodline. I don't know. I'm probably
Guys-
overcomplicating this.
Yeah, you are.
Sorry.
Silver is a completely different character.
Sorry. Stupid.
Stupid. Bad.
I just I do like at the beginning because usually when I would catch it on TV, it would already be a little bit in. And the first time I watched it as an adult, I guess I'd say is I really enjoyed how much time they take at the beginning to just walk through the planet and explore and try and figure
they
some
show
shit
you
out.
the planet before the apes.
Yeah.
They make you wait. It's a half hour before we get to the
Yeah.
apes.
And then
And then another half hour until he talks.
And then they see the scarecrows, which would be fucking freaky if you think you're on another planet.
Those are very
Yeah.
well designed. There's monkey fur on them. You can see. And then this might be the first time I've seen this movie in full HD beginning to end, honestly. Because I think I saw it on deep. I don't know, maybe not.
Oh, this is absolutely the first time I've seen this in HD. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you see the monkey fur on there, and it's a very simple but effective scarecrows, which is interesting how primal. I don't know. It's just the art design. You just see jagged X's, and that's just like scary to humans.
Yeah.
Scarecrows in general just kind of scare the shit out of me.
Yeah, dude. They're called
Not a fan.
scarecrows.
Yeah, I'm not
Casher's
a
a
fan.
crow.
And then they start I like that they have the feral humans in the background start to slowly creep into the background and stuff. It's just really effective filmmaking.
It is. They do show the hand there because, yeah, it's effective filmmaking. One thing we didn't mention, I actually love how they do the crash because there's, it's just so many fast. They didn't have the technology. If they did it today, it'd just be a CGI crash and kind of like, okay, they crash. But in here, they make it so subjective because they're just showing different angles, getting closer and closer to the ground, all these helicopter shots. And I think it's actually way more effective. And it works with the score. And the score in this movie, especially this first act, is just piercing. There's so many light keyboard taps that have this creeping sense of being watched and being followed. The score that's playing when they run to go skinny dip in the river because they're just, I don't know.
Yeah, and
thirst.
the revelation of that there's water on this planet. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, because that would be really frightening for a while if you're on this planet. You don't know if it's even habitable. And then it starts with that little plant that they pick up, and then they see a tree, and then they see water, and it's like,
I like that.
Be a major relief.
Yeah, fresh water. I like that they have to scan for the atmosphere. A lot of movies forget that.
Yeah,
it makes it unbelievable. Sometimes they just walk out in their land, and they're just like, okay, it's like Star Trek. I guess they kind of scan.
It's like yeah.
Like George Méliès when they go to the moon and they're just walking around.
Yeah. But also, if I was on an alien planet, I'd be scared to try water with unknown bacteria and shit. And it doesn't matter.
Maybe they're inoculated. I don't know. Movies always forget about that. They always just hand wave it.
Fuck it.
Yeah, there's very few movies I've known that's like really gets into the fucking.
Yeah, and Prometheus, the dude just takes his helmet off. He's like, okay, I can breathe it. Oh, here's a space snake. Let me touch it.
And then
if you're watching Planet of the Apes for scientific accuracy. I got news for you. Apes can't talk.
For all you know. And that's the real
Not
question.
gonna make a joke. I'm not gonna make
Coco
a
It's
couldn't
like
talk.
the thought of if we reversed it and we're in like today and an ape talked, how would it be treated in our society? I wonder.
We've got Coco. Coco's able to like was able to.
Coco is only kind of talking. She
No,
doesn't have full
Coco's
comprehension.
talking.
No,
And she has
I don't think
empathy,
so.
and she's able to
She
She
has
has
empathy.
I'm
She can
saying
communicate. She can communicate some, but her linguistic structures are not there. Their brains don't communicate.
No,
like
that's
that.
wrong. You're wrong.
They know if I sign like this, then this will happen, but they're not able to.
No.
I've watched. I've looked into this. I don't believe it. I think she's being goaded by her trainer, and her trainer has to interpret a lot of what she's saying because she doesn't have the ability to form grammatically correct sentences.
yeah, but what if an ape was like
Thought.
said, "Fuck you, asshole," and then
Is that what he says?
Oh,
yeah,
dude.
that's his first words.
He'd be an influencer today.
I do love the fucking moment. Like, again, I'm going back to fucking the trilogy I just watched again.
Yeah.
But whenever fucking Caesar says no for the first
Great.
time,
It's
I
great.
imagine that reaction of shitting your pants would be my reaction. I'd be like,
Yeah, but how quickly would he be taken in by the government to be experimented
or
on?
people, and then people would say fake news, and then PETA would be up in arms. It'd be chaos, but then it'd be forgotten in 30 minutes. I mean, we just had alien life confirmed basically in a Senate hearing, and nobody really gave a crap. So,
Because our rent is still the same. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I do like because when they get to they get their clothes stolen and they follow them into a field, and you see this field of all these weird humanoid people who are mute, and it really works. and that's the reveal of who's hunting these people with guns. Oh, it's fucking apes on horseback. I can see how that really took off back then.
It's still wild to me, the gun scene, whenever like it's you see the guns fire and then it pans up and it's a fucking the ape.
Yeah, and that's a dude. I missed
so good. That's such a good reveal.
Snap zooms, and they fell out of style, but I love it in old movies, especially old sci-fi and shit like this. It works so well. I don't know.
I was thinking one like the most. I was just saying, I think one of the most iconic things of the whole series is like seeing apes on horses, like horseback.
Yeah.
Like,
not only is it 8 men, but they shoot fucking guns and they're on horseback. What more could you want?
Cool.
What more could you want?
Cool.
Interesting that they still have gunpowder. They know how to make it.
Yeah, no, especially because like you said, they dumbed down the societies here. I'm really curious if like they just really like the aesthetic of being in a fucking tree. But know how to do a bunch of chemistry and all this other stuff.
I don't know. I think they have slightly like late medieval technology. A
gun's not late medieval.
Yeah. Some guns.
I mean, we can debate that, I guess. The guns I think of late medieval would be like fireworks from Mulan.
I don't know. It's a movie. It's a talking monkey movie.
Yeah, and then
they have a caste system. They have I want to talk about that. They have a caste system.
I do think that's really cool.
The orangutan. I mean, obviously, it's for the audience's convenience to be like, these apes are in charge.
No, but also the lightest skinned apes are at the highest political power, and then you have the chimps at the middle class, and then you have the darkest apes at the bottom class doing all the grunt work. So
yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, no, that's definitely intentional, but also it is an interesting and easy to figure out system, and there's something. Yeah. Costume design's on point because Cornelius and Zira's green outfits are just very striking and iconic looking to me, and same for Zaius. It's just great design.
It's all simple and it's all very functional. It doesn't feel like a costume. It feels like something that the society would actually wear.
Yeah,
it meshes well.
Yeah, and that's when we start to get into, once he's captured, we get a lot of bombs of like information naturally too. It's not just annoying exposition.
No, the way it's written, it sounds very natural, but I really like the juxtaposition from the hunting scene and it really struck me this time. We go hunting scene, and then we immediately transition to Zira talking about being an animal psychologist. So we immediately see a more civilized version of this contrasted right after we're introduced to it. And I'm glad they immediately established that. It stuck out to me this time.
And she cares a lot for animals, and of course you're going to be very drawn to her as a character, which I love Zira. She's my favorite character.
She's kind of the most redeemable one for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And then you deal with, like, obviously the themes right up front, or the suppression of truth and facts and science, and the phrase they keep throwing around is scientific heresy, which is an insane kind of term when you think about it. Like, yeah, I don't know. And it's just frustrating when he can't speak, and you're wondering how much Dr. Zaius actually, obviously he's just, you think at first, well, that's just what he believes because that's what everyone believes. But then you get the scene where he rubs the sand out that Taylor wrote in the cage, and that's where it shifts. You're like, okay, this guy freely suppressing. And it just gets worse for Dr. Zaius as you go on. It's like, okay, he might genuinely believe this or that. But then by the end, he's just like, nope, I knew this shit the whole time. I just don't care. It's like, damn.
He's trying to keep society together. Their entire society is based on a belief that man is superior, or that ape is superior to man. But if you think about it, our entire society is based off the idea that we're endowed with a certain intelligence and we're superior to nature. And in this movie, apes are taking over the planet and showing that we're not superior to nature. We can be subjugated just like anything else, which is another thing that stuck out as we're in the hottest summer on record. And the coldest summer of the rest of our life, as we've destroyed the environment. How much of our, I don't know, just our hubris, our scientific hubris is not, on one hand, we have people who want to limit science, but on the other hand, we have people who want to exploit science to exploit the natural resources as much as we possibly can. Man is very much depicted as a virus in this movie. And something, I mean, Zaius says it at the end. It's not even just because of the nuclear war, but he says that man will make a desert of your home, and he talks earlier in the movie how he uses up his resources in the forest, then he comes into our fields and steals our crops. So man is hated upon because they're seen as pests, as locusts, except that are almost as large as the apes, and even more dangerous, but more dangerous their ideology. It's a good movie. I like it. I like this movie a lot.
No, it's really good. Like I said, it just makes me want to explore so much fucking more, which is
watch sequels.
Yeah, let's just marathon the sequels this week, and we'll do a sequel episode.
I could, yeah.
They're not that. They're like 80, 90 minutes a piece. It's not big.
Yeah, I could do that each night. Fuck, because like I'm just like,
I'm telling you, dude.
You it's the tism, dude. I just want to know everything about it now. Like I get obsessed with shit.
Yeah, dude. That's what happened to me 2 summers ago. It's funny, especially in movies like this, where it's funny that the apes can just read English and what Taylor's writing. And
you got to suspend your
disbelief, but also it works for the movies because they just happen. It's fun because it's okay. They're on Earth and they're actually,
English somehow didn't change over the last.
Yeah, somehow, even though if you went back to 2,000 years ago from now, how different English. Well, first of all,
they would be speaking Algonquin up there, so.
But perfect contemporary English has survived 2,000 years. That's fun. But
good old Christian English.
How much worse
what Jesus spoke.
How much worse it was
written in, Adrian.
If Taylor was writing English and they're like, we don't know what this says, it'd be fucked. He'd be like, if he spoke English and they spoke some sort of monkey language, he'd be fucked.
Yeah, they'd be like, what is this guy doing?
And then I like Zira and Cornelius's dynamic. They're fiancés and they're both people of science and studying science, but Cornelius obviously is not as eager to jump on the idea that a man can talk, and it creates a interesting dynamic between the two and their interactions. While while Taylor's sitting there and writing down shit for them, and they're trying to convey it back and forth to each other. It makes for an interesting scene and makes the dialogue way more interesting because of that dynamic, I feel.
Right, because there's conflict in it.
Yeah.
Dialogue without conflict is monologue.
Yeah. And just you get the double frustration of him trying his best to explain who he is and where he came from. And Cornelius is just like, this is a fucking parlor trick, basically.
Although it's kind of ridiculous. He's writing full sentences and he's like, this is a parlor trick. And I'm like, okay, you're being a little there's some Reddit atheism in this movie, I feel.
There is, because like, but it's so truthful because it's real shit that I have to deal with in my own personal life. It's like, look at this obvious example of what's going on with this or that, whether it's climate change or something, and then Christians blah 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 blah.
Well, and then also, to be fair, I also said Coco was just a parlor trick a minute ago, but she wasn't writing. So
yeah, maybe you're the parlor trick.
Yep, I'm a trick.
Trick is something a whore does for money, Michael.
Isn't it funny when they throw Nova in there and they're just like, "Hey, bang this chick for us, and we'll watch."
Less.
Yeah, say less. That gets a little weird because she's obviously a way different level of intelligence.
Oh, she's like a child. She's a complete male fantasy.
I know.
Here's this literally a model. She's a model.
Yeah.
Here's this model that won't talk to me or bug me and will just smile at anything I say. That's Nova. Yeah, the 60s. Better times.
There's I like when sci-fi movies just give us glimpses of or teases of world building just in small doses. Like when he's running from the apes at first, and he's in like this room that it's like a funeral or something, and you get to hear some of their religious shit during that moment. It just adds a lot to it, and even though it's just like a minute long. And
I like that somebody had to make a coffin that looks like a monkey.
Yeah.
They had to hire a carpenter to make that.
Yeah.
Imagine just you call that into a normal coffin place and you're just like, hey, we need a coffin that looks like a gorilla. Maybe like, what? Why?
That's what I want to be. I want to be buried in some shit like that.
Yeah. Gorilla coffin.
And a gorilla sarcophagus.
That'd be cool as fuck.
It's also interesting. I was watching like folks talk about their reactions to this movie when it was fresh in theaters. And they talked about how a lot of kids were excited to go see it multiple times because it was monkeys shooting guns, basically. But which is interesting because that's such a small part of it. And then a long stretches of this movie in the middle is fucking philosophy and like just dialogue of Dr. Zaius and Taylor going back and forth and stuff, and it's just enriching. I don't know, but
I think there's something because on its surface, I think a lot of people today who approach this movie would think it's real hokey. And I think that's one reason they went, also that's the style at the time, like really hyper realistic with the art style in the newer ones, just to get people to believe the premise, because I think people were just able to suspend their disbelief. But there's something so it is one of those things though. Apes are so archetypal because I think we've always been connected to them and seen them as brethren, even before the theory of evolution. All you have to do is look into a gorilla's eyes at the zoo, and you see a soul there, and it's kind of frightening, and you see it in a way you don't see it in other animals.
Yeah, fuck zoos.
Yeah.
Fuck some zoos. Some zoos are good. Some zoos are bad. It's not.
Fuck Magic Kingdom.
What does Magic Kingdom have to do with it?
Or the Animal Kingdom?
Animal Kingdom's a giant conservation. That's the only reason.
So are a lot of zoos.
That's the only reason I went.
Sorry, Mickey Mouse isn't running every zoo, sir.
Yeah, so one of the best snap zooms is when he gets caught and you get the iconic line where he can finally speak, take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape, which has been, it's one of those lines.
And reference.
Yeah. And and Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back is one of the bigger ones. They took a fair amount of that budget of that movie just to do a quick fucking reference to that movie. It's insane. Yeah, so Nova being this primitive simpleton is definitely a fetish to some folks.
Oh no, it's absolutely a fetish to me.
And I'm like, what is the point of having her in this movie?
Yeah,
It's
she's
kind
really
of
not
become
that
like
important in this movie at all.
it's kind of common in those old sci-fi films. to have
Yeah.
some-
Probably
It's
so.
that might be a studio note of like this movie needs some sex.
Yeah.
Oh, like I
Honestly,
was
it might be
reading-
that simple.
Let me see.
Just
If I
like-
can find it. They said they were going to make Nova pregnant in scenes, but they decided not to do that.
And then it was half monkey.
Oh, wow.
No, it's
Bro.
like I thought maybe
it's
he could like teach her to speak or something, something like that. But
yeah. It said
No,
here
she's
it was
just dumb.
at one point it was decided that Nova was pregnant, and scenes were filmed around the page locations revealing Nova's pregnancy. And then I guess they decided not to do that.
What would be the point?
further
don't-
Even if she
humanity,
were
I
pregnant.
guess.
I don't know. It's I guess they rejected the idea. Let's see.
Well, here's the thing also is that the producer, he was very careful with
Oh, well, real quick. I just read why they decided not to do that. And
yeah.
it's because Nova is technically a humanoid, and it would mean that Taylor had committed sodomy.
Okay.
It's not an actual human woman. And so they were like, it's distasteful.
It's
Like
a human woman.
She
Well,
is
this is what
human.
they
She's
said.
from Earth.
That's what
She's a Homo sapien.
They're saying that it's a humanoid and not actually human. This is what Michael
What does that
Wilson said.
mean?
I don't know. He said at the insistence of the high echelon of Fox executives found it distasteful. Why? I suppose that if one defines the mute Nova as merely humanoid and not human, it would mean that Taylor had committed sodomy.
Huh.
Okay, but it's still implied that he's in love with her. But I don't think they bang when they first throw her in there because he's like, "This is weird, and monkeys are watching me, and I have a gunshot wound."
It's so
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah, it's just that kind of thing, like putting someone in there for we need
Eye
someone
candy.
for this movie. Yeah, it's like I was talking about Bill and Ted. They have the princesses in that first movie for really no reason, just to say, "Oh, Bill and Ted aren't gay guys."
Yeah,
They're not
I don't know why
gay.
you would think they were.
Yeah,
They talk about how dude's mom is hot.
yeah.
I don't like how Zira's hot in this movie.
Ted. I don't know. Yeah, Nova was. I don't know. It's just really weird. It is funny that he's like insists to take her at the end, but the interesting part is when he gets taken into the hearing with the other orangutans, and when they're
A
going
Scopes monkey trial, you could
Yeah.
say.
when they go over it, hearing Zayas called the chief of science and defender of faith in the same sentence, that spells out the whole movie for you right there. And like I was talking about some folks in my life, or people I just, a lot of these religious folks that have seemed to double down in the last few years with faith over science or whatever. The orangutans cannot stand to even come close to trying to address the truth of what he's saying in this hearing, and they're like looking down, almost plugging their ears at one point. It's pathetic. And,
They do the cover ears, mouth, and eyes. They do
Yeah.
hear no evil, see no evil. Which they did that because test audiences liked it. It was improv.
yeah,
No, they don't even want to hear him talk. They hate hearing him talk. It's an affront.
yeah, and yeah, that's a
Bender of the faith and chief
Yeah,
of
dude.
science. It's something that even until recently, and even until the mid 20th century, it reminds me of when he's asking, "Oh, if you're so intelligent, tell us the articles of our faith," which he obviously wouldn't know.
yeah,
That's a knowledge test, not an intelligence test. But even until the middle of last century, intelligence test had a lot of knowledge-based questions that were very culturally, like Eurocentric, which is even if that's not intentional, it still reminds me of that, of a sort of a ethnocentrism being another thing that's common in this. It's not just about race or caste. It's about so many things. I do wonder how globalized, because they don't know what's beyond the forbidden zone. So I'm like, okay, so are apes in Asia have any contact with apes in the Americas?
That's
for
what I want to
instance?
know. And
Yeah, my gut says no, or very limited.
because I want to know how intelligent, like, is it just natural evolution, or was it, because in the reboot trilogy it's pushed forward very quickly by their scientific
Research.
testing, and how easily would these apes get from North America to other continents? I guess they could figure out how to drive boats.
Yeah, and with nuclear winter, the Bering Strait, they could walk by it. Or go
I'm
on
wondering
boats.
if there's other ape tribes that are more advanced in technology.
Yeah, they have like lasers and jetpacks and stuff.
Well, or not like that, but like being able to use a car or.
Well, yeah, see, it was going to be way more contemporary-ish. Like they would have helicopters and cars and be
Or
sitting in cafes and sipping
bikinis, hot
know.
chicks.
But I really honestly like this style a little bit better because it would be
No, it adds
Kinda-
more mystery.
yeah.
Because if
I
it's
think
too much
so.
like our society, the reveal doesn't happen. Because then
Yeah.
it's the contrast isn't there.
I agree. And also the producer of the film, he was real careful with who was gonna do it, because he was gonna go to one studio, but he didn't want it to end up like a B movie, like monster movie, which was the right choice because this really needed the exact execution that it has to work as well as it did, because it could have just been like a crazy monkey movie, where I don't know. So everything came together perfectly is what I'm trying to say, and I'm glad it did,
No, it's lightning in a bottle.
because it could have been stupid schlock.
No, and some of those sequels are schlockier.
Oh yeah, that's why I like them.
But even then, because they come from this movie, they could be a lot more.
But that's the thing, is like, schlock or not, they're still interesting, and that's what's
They have
important.
points to make.
Yeah,
They have something to say.
It's cool movies.
The world building alone.
Yeah, cool
kind of
world building,
keeps you
awesome
fucking
sci-fi shit.
interested. Yeah.
Um,
I'm probably gonna watch all these sequels this week because now I'm
yeah,
like,
let's do it.
throbbing for the fucking lore.
Yeah.
So that was a gross way to say that. I'm sorry, guys.
Now obviously, there's shit about evolution in this, that the apes cannot stand to think that maybe they evolved from man. I don't think they did evolve from man.
I think they were normal apes.
Yeah, I don't think it wasn't any nuclear fallout, radiation, mutation, or anything like that either. So that's what I like. It's like, it's implied that we blew ourselves up with bombs and shit, but it's not. Well, never mind. There's some things I can't talk about yet.
Yeah. No, it kind of leaves you to speculate how they might have just evolved. I don't even remember if there's an explanation for why they're intelligent. If there is, I don't remember.
No, never mind. Yep.
Yeah, I've seen the sequels. It's just been years. I saw them on DVDs at Blockbuster.
I've never seen the original sequels. Goddamn.
Oh shit! I'm so excited.
For the longest time,
I remember the
no
broad strokes of what happens, but it's I don't know. Maybe they just took over the planet. We couldn't deal with the fallout, but the monkeys did. Technically, we didn't evolve from apes either. We have a common ancestor with apes,
right? The missing link.
Yeah. If you believe that sort of
No, I remember when they used that term "missing link" in Tarzan. I was like, "What does that mean?" My mom kind of just brushed it off.
Yeah, I like the Futurama jokes where they show there's 100 missing links. There's like Australopithecus and this and that, and Cro-Magnon is like,
yeah, that's a good one. Back when Futurama was smart.
Yeah, are the new ones not?
I watched 2 episodes and haven't gone back for. I might give it one more shot.
What wasn't bad, but didn't compel you to keep watching.
I'm sick of streaming services making TV shows that fucking like make fun of streaming services. Does that make sense? Like,
yes.
Oh yeah, streaming service bad. Let's make a TV show about it. Like, I don't know.
Does Futurama do that?
The first episode of the new season does.
Yeah, I don't really care. I'm just kind of like,
I'm gonna leave it dead.
I don't think
I'm good.
It's just like,
I like how it ended.
it's like it's just like new Simpsons episodes. Like they're watchable, but it's not the same as the original run. You know,
Exactly.
not that the Simpsons ever had an original run. It's still on the original run, but you know what I mean. Everyone says first 8 to 10 seasons is the original.
That's
Simpsons.
that's the Illuminati show. That show's never going away.
Okay, yeah, true. They're locked in.
That's the way to get in on Hollywood, dude. Just start making shows for
that poor lady who plays Marge Simpson. Dude, she needs to retire. It's so bad now. Oh shit. Stupid. I like the brutal revelation of right after the hearing, he's called into Dr. Zaius's office, and Dr. Zaius is like, look, yeah, obviously you're not, like, I want to know where you're from. You're not from space or whatever. You didn't come on a ship, but I want to know what's actually going on. And obviously I believe this or that.
I guess Dr. Zaius is thinking there's a whole civilization of Taylors.
He thinks he's a mutant. Yeah.
Yeah. He thinks there's a whole civilization of X-Men humans that are just, gonna blow everything up.
And he's listening to all the horrible shit that Dr. Zaius is saying, but all he can think about at the moment is, thank you for calling me Taylor. I think that's a really powerful moment in the movie to me, after being dehumanized for the whole film. And
I like Dr. Zaius a lot.
I think it also shows that Dr. Zaius was largely presenting an act for the tribunal or court, whatever that was.
And the screenwriter talked about how dehumanizing it was to be in front of these McCarthy goons and treated like he was trash just because he didn't want to say whether he was a communist or not, and the suppression of free speech in our country, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, should have not been a communist.
Good thing we have neo-McCarthyism.
Yeah, thank God it's come back. And now people will, and
the government is charging unjustly. You know who else is in an unjust hearing? The rightful president, Donald Trump.
Yeah, people at home, we like to be facetious from time to time. We don't mean these kinds of things.
People can tell. Anyone who's cool enough and Kino enough to watch.
Anyone that's cool enough would understand it's a joke, but I get worried sometimes. I don't know. Yeah,
let them think I'm being serious.
I also like.
I don't give a hoot.
I like how Zira's nephew is just so quickly down to.
He gets introduced real late. I forget how late he gets introduced.
Just like, yeah, I'll break this guy out of jail and we can run from people and
imagine if you went to your cousin or nephew and was like, hey, do you want to help me break this monkey out of the zoo? And they were just like, all right, sure.
That dude would be
Bob J and Silent Bob Strikes Back.
He makes fun of him. He's like, if you shave your beard, it makes you look less intelligent. That's what they tell him.
Yeah. I just yeah.
He says beard, and he says beard, and then Lucius or whatever his name is like, I'm not into fads. Like, what does that mean? What's
yeah.
You know what it means.
Lucius is cool because he just walks in there, and first of all, the ape that's sitting there watching the humans is cool as hell. He's fucking smoking a cigar, like leaned back in his chair. That's just a cool image.
See, it needs to be like a little bit more like effects, so like his feet are collapsed together, and he's just like fucking full King Louis smoking a cigar.
But he looks cool though. He's like smiling, like smoking a cigar. I'm like, dude, there's nothing better than this. Watching a monkey smoke, dude.
Yeah, dude.
But
smoking monkeys and smoking toddlers are cool.
Yeah, that's why the baby from Who Framed Roger Rabbit's cool, because he likes to slap women on the ass and smoke cigars. A real baby wouldn't do that. Anyway, yeah, just Lucius helps Taylor break out, and then he's like, "Okay, let's go," and Taylor's like, no, I have to bring what's her name? Nova. It's like, okay, you don't need to bring her. He's got that dog in him, dude. That's why he needs some pussy.
That dog in him.
He's well, there's that joke later where Dr. Zaius is like, I didn't know humans could be monogamous. And he's like, on this planet,
On this
it's not
planet,
hard.
It's easy.
I mean, it's easy.
Dude, that is like a really funny one-liner. It just sounds almost out of place, like something Zap Brannigan would say or something, you know. But it is interesting. I wonder why he's so insisting on taking Nova with him. It's almost like I want to believe that he's like clinging to his own existence and humanity and actually wants to like continue the human race or something. His version of the human race, that is. I don't know.
I think he's horny.
Yeah, maybe so.
I do think he has a almost I don't know, grudging respect or love for humanity of like, well, this is all I've got. And maybe that is the moral center of the movie, which seems to have none, is like, as barbaric as nature can be, humanity is all we got. And we should, you know, not blow ourselves up.
Yeah, life is too short, so love the one you got.
Love the one you got.
Or you might get run over, or you might get shot.
Now, Cornelius, I like his progression of like, okay, obviously Taylor's sentient. Obviously, he knows some shit. I still don't think he's from a different planet, but he might be from beyond the Forbidden Zone. And Cornelius was the only one. Somehow he got clearance to excavate an area within the Forbidden Zone, and he got too big for his britches, and they shut it down real fast. So obviously,
Hey guys, I gotta go. I gotta drop something off real quick. I'm sorry.
okay.
I've got my girlfriend's keys.
Oh, okay.
She's gotta go somewhere, so I'll try to be back in just a second.
Okay.
All right.
Obviously, he knows that there could be some more shit out there, and whatever he found in the excavation, or however you say it, is alluring to him. And that's what I like, is as at first he's really trying his hardest to be rational with Zira, but he knows there's something fucking going on with the
Shoving it
forbidden.
down himself because he was threatened. He was
Yeah.
threatened with heresy just for bringing up the archaeological dig. So, and first of all, he's a scientist. Scientists are supposed to be skeptical. And I understand, like, well, we don't even have flight. But the fact that they say flight is a scientific impossibility in so many things, there's obviously a deep psychic wound in this forbidden zone.
Yeah.
But also, I wonder how many of the orangutans know about the full story, because clearly Zaius knows about the truth of humans and how he has an idea that they destroyed the world. And I wonder how many of them know how extensive the human civilization is, but B, just know that humans were sentient and destroyed the world at all. I mean, what percentage of their society? I bet it's only like Dr. Zaius and maybe, I bet it's like 100 people in the Ape Kingdom.
Maybe
Tops.
less.
Maybe
I want to
less.
know. I wish they could have afforded to do like one scene where it was a real big set piece with like a lot of different areas of apes, and like, I don't know. I know they worked with what they got, but I want to know how many orangutans sit with political power within this community. And I don't know.
Do they have other jobs? They can't all be judges.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to think like how you said it, where this might be a smaller suburb or compound focused on scientific shit, and then maybe there's a much bigger ape city out there.
That's my headcanon.
Yeah.
Although they're still having a funeral here. But
Yeah.
religion's clearly very important. I don't know. It could be a million things.
It doesn't,
Or
it
within the
doesn't
budget,
matter.
you need to suspend your disbelief.
Yeah. I'm hoping Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes starts introducing some of the religious undertones of the originals.
I hope it does. And I hope there's an ape city. There's like ape cops.
Ape cops. Yeah.
Apes spinning the signs to go into the store, like doing that stuff, dancing. You know?
Yeah.
What do you want to see in the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes?
Well, there's some shit I can't talk about.
What do you want to see in Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, Casher?
A monkey flying a helicopter.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. What else about this movie?
The Forbidden Zone. It's just to think that they've only been within this small area for so long without it's just been a long withstanding taboo. And if this somehow ties to the original or to the reboot trilogy, then obviously Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes would be probably about their trek and settling down in this area if they're trying to connect to the originals.
We'll
That's
see.
what I would assume, yeah.
Without spoiling, obviously, War of the Planet of the Apes, but and why they didn't just settle in America or like where they were within America. Oh well.
They probably were. They just probably extend out into this point, and that supports, I think, my idea of this being a research station or something. Is that they're kind of out in the frontier, farther from civilization, like west of the Mississippi, so to speak.
Yeah. So Cornelius urges them to go to this excavation site that he was working on because obviously now he wants to know more about what's really going on, and that's where it all starts to come together. It creeps in, and they go into the site with Dr. Zaius, who followed them there because he knew where they would be going. And once you see the bones and stuff, you start to, maybe a first-time viewer starts to wonder, well, how would this stuff exist? Why were there humans before them and stuff like that? I don't know. But because as soon as the doll goes off, I kind of looked around to see if my family, I think my sister like raised her eyebrow, like, what is this? Kind of like, wait a minute. And then, yeah, I think that gets a more reaction out of me, the doll rewatching, I think, than the actual reveal. Because I know the original reveal so well because it's so iconic, but that.
Right. No, it is the first definitive proof.
It's damning.
And that's when we see Zaius is in full denial mode. He clearly knows what's up, but he's just full on like, no, not true. I'm not explaining any of this.
And it's just at every single turn. It's so infuriating because they're like, well, look at these eyeglasses and these fake teeth and this and that.
I can make explanations for those that sound just as logical.
Yeah. And it's just when it's basically hitting too close to home, especially with all the shit that boomers share on Facebook and immediately believe.
Fossils were put in the ground by Satan to test our faith.
By the Jews.
By the Jews.
6,000 years ago. Yeah. It's just basically it hits too close to home is what I'm saying.
Is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes going to be a bunch of boomers on Facebook denying science? Is that what you're saying?
On Ape Book?
Ape Book. How's the ending hit for you, Casher? I know you already knew it, but you haven't seen this movie in forever.
Oh, it still hits the same. Not necessarily as like the shocking, but it's still equally as iconic as it was.
It's iconic. It's thematically hits you in the gut.
It's
Charlton Heston goes full ape mode.
Hams it the fuck up. I love it. I love it.
He has Dr. Zaius tied up, and Zira she still has that empathy, like, you can't do that to him, and it's like, why not? He did it to me. And
yeah, he's almost racist against apes toward this one. He's like, Zira, you're one of the good ones.
There is one part where Dr. Zaius asks him to pull out the scroll out of his pocket and read a certain excerpt from it. And unfortunately, as much as I hate Dr. Zaius, a lot of the shit they say about the history of humanity and humans in general is true, about just their shittiness. And it's like, okay, I partially have to side with Dr. Zaius on humans in their past because we have been pretty shitty. And so there is that one moment where I do understand just slightly where he's coming from. It's just they turned it into a religion. That's the problem. And
yeah, imagine your religion was entirely designed around hating gorillas or an animal.
Yeah, well,
Infidels.
I think it's tragic that he's on Earth the whole time, and that humanity's gone, the humanity that he knew. But it's, to me, more tragic that, okay, they're already in this future, so let's do what we can, but they blow up the excavation site at the end, and to me that's more brutal. It's like, even after all this, they're just gonna blow it up and roll with it.
Yeah, it's like changing a textbook.
Yeah. Ooh. I wonder if Ron DeSantis likes this movie.
Or Abbott.
There's no
I
way.
agree with the apes.
And that's the thing about the reveal of the Lady Liberty is the way the crown or whatever it is she wears just slides into frame first.
Yeah.
That's just good filmmaking.
No, I think this whole movie is pretty much flawless, if you ask me.
Yeah. It's like one of the greatest, of all time. And I was watching about franchising this movie, in the 70s. They made all the sequels, and they would have these at certain theaters. They would have this thing called Go Ape, and they would just have all 5 of the movies playing and like kids would go sit in the theaters and watch all 5 of them and shit. And then they, even in like 74 or 75, they got action figures with like Zira and Cornelius and Taylor.
Those action figures are tight as shit too.
And I'm like,
I've seen those a lot.
It's just weird. It's such like a philosophical sci-fi movie, and
I was imagining the kids reenacting philosophical dialogues with the action figures.
It's just funny. It's like so 70s to get like major action figures and toy sets and shit from it. It's funny. It got branded to hell too for a little while, but then I think it died down once Star Wars blew up, but it's cool. Star Trek and Planet of the Apes, intelligent sci-fi kind of stuff. We should have some more.
Silver Age.
Yeah. Good shit.
There's a Planet of the Apes TV show that lasted one
animated TV show too.
I've never
checked
it out.
I used to own the animated TV show on like a shitty DVD. Yeah, it was one of those $5 bin DVDs.
Oh yeah.
Did you watch it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So not a lot of lore answers in there, I guess.
No,
just more apes.
I'm still confused. It's more actioning. It's like Johnny Quest if there were apes in it.
I can't help it. I would like to watch apes shoot guns, that's why I like the reboot trilogy. Not to say there's not smart shit in the reboot trilogy, but it is definitely
but there's
more.
no orangutan smoking a goddamn cigar yet. That's what I'm waiting for.
Yeah. Kingdom is just going to be set in a hookah lounge.
Yeah, that'd be tight.
Well, thanks for listening, everybody. I guess we're going to try and really do a sequel cast to this pretty soon.
Yeah,
absolutely. Fun. I've wanted to rewatch these sequels for a long time now because I'm really into them. And especially I like watching them all back to back. If it just works really well that way.
I like to watch them meet to meet.
Yeah, well, yeah. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
I see you've brought the female of your species. I didn't realize that man could be monogamous.
On this planet, it's easy.